time now to talk some footy, Kingy, because you were out at the Saints on Friday, I think it was.
Yeah, I went to the Saints. It was good to get down there. I've tried a couple of times and seen a couple of average sort of hit-outs. You miss...
What's an average hit-out? Just a stock standard training session? Yeah.
A skills session and those handball drills that everyone does. I mean, they drive you insane.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand you got to do them, but I want match sim if you can. So when you see the umpire, usually the umpires are a great sign. If the umpire's there, you're like, beautiful.
We're on.
But they did about 5 or 6 little periods. It was terrific. Good to see them have a solid hit out. The one thing that really hit me is that they're still relying on a lot of young guys and their light bodies to step up and have a major say, not just be a bits and pieces type roles for the club. I think they need to do a bit more than that. And they're going to be good players. I think they're going to be okay, and they're just going to have, I think, some more teething pains whilst this list corrects. But the one thing that hits you is the kicking skills of Nasai Wanganeen Millera.
You were gushing.
Mate, it is. They've put something up on their Instagram. We'll just go through it then with Benny Lyon. Just some of the things he was doing with the ball. There's not many players. I'm not saying he's necessarily the best kick in the comp, because I'd like to see it more centre forward. So this is why I don't know whether you can just keep them at half back all their career or for long periods. And I like the fact that they throw Sinclair on the ball every now and then, and I'm dying for them to throw Nasai on the ball. Kicking inside 50 is the one thing that they really lack.
Yep.
They bomb the ball to that predictable spot, and I know it's a bit of a bugbear for Saints fans. They don't get bang for buck with the ball in the forward half. So I think that they could really look at maybe maximising his work, but they're not going to blow anyone away this year, Cornesy. I think we know what we're going to get from the Saints. But I think the next couple of years they'll seriously spike.
A couple of questions. I've probably got them bottom 4. Part of that is around health and some of their key players missing a large chunk of pre-season. Rowan Marshall, a nasty one, so you wouldn't have seen much of him. You wouldn't have seen any of Philippo, because he's got that nasty one as well. Liam Henry's still out on the injury list. Dougal Howard's still out.
He was back. Liam Henry's back training. So
he was back, was he?
Yeah, back, yeah. They've got a few little wild card ones. Hall, Travaglia, they're just young players that'll be okay. I'm a Keeler fan. He looks... He moves like a Franklin type, right? I'm not saying he's that player. He's not. He's probably going to make it as a defender more than a forward, but I think they have to have a look at him. Schoen Macca we've talked about before with his kicking skills, left footer. Can he smash the ball? But Hasty, those sort of guys. Garcia looks different. There's something about Garcia that I like. He played a lot of on ball. So they're a bit away, the Saints, and Saints fans are sick of hearing that. I understand that. They're getting frustrated and they've been impatient for a couple of years. But this is part of the list correction they had to have. Yeah,
so strategy-wise, from the time that they moved on Brett Ratton, and that was a shocking one that we did to get to death. 3rd year coming up for Ross. When they appointed Ross, they said, we think our list is better than where we have been. Finals the first year of Ross, you go, well, they've overachieved here with the list that they've got. Reset back last year. Are you now saying that they are in a 2 to 3 to 4 year reset and rebuild, whichever word is best describing of the situation that they're at, or what? This year's going to be tough. Where are they next year, and where are they the year after? And do they have enough of the talent coming through to be the Hawthorn, or to be able to compete with the Gold Coast of the world, who are stacked for young talent under the age of 23?
I still think Ross will get the best out of this group.
We know that.
So, but I think the ceiling is sort of 11 to 12 wins, and I don't know what the floor is. If their senior players get injured, but King was out there, did some good things. Sinclair out there again, bit of halfback, bit of on ball. Owens deep forward, did his thing, didn't go into the ruck, so I like that. There's enough there to work with. Let's be honest. If the whole season relied on Mateus Philippo, you're in a bit of trouble, aren't you?
Yeah.
They haven't, he wasn't that player for them last year.
No, but he's the one where you go, well, he's the one with the athletic traits to get excited about and to go and watch, and hopefully he's centre forward. Hopefully he's,
Nasai's going to be a much better player than Mateus.
You think?
A much better player.
He plays an easier role though, doesn't he?
Like that's what I'm saying. I'm demanding more.
Yeah, we're asking Philippou to be your Bontempelli type. Like that's who I would be hoping can be the Saints version, not to the level of the best St Kilda player ever, but has the attributes to be centre bounce, forward, bang, maximum impact per possession. Not saying that Wanganeen Miller is not able to do that, but it's across half back where it's much easier to win the ball.
Yeah, so I'm saying
Get
him into the middle, because midfielders now, they get the ball 25 times a game minimum. So would you be more nervous if
Can he go centre bounce though? Like,
but he doesn't have to win it.
Look at him.
He just has to be in there. It has to be a first receive. First receive, give it to the gun. So I think that's what most clubs are doing. I mean, Nick Dacos, everyone told me for 6 months, he's just a receiver. He doesn't win his own ball. Plays half back. He's just rolling footy. Then they throw him in the middle. You don't hear that anymore. So sometimes you got to give the player the opportunity to break that thought process, that version of that player.
We touched on the Western Bulldogs on Friday, so they had a hit out yesterday, I think it was. Riley Sanders kicked 3 goals and looked to be dominant. You spoke about him in your training report and how good he looked. Treloar's set to miss months now with that calf setback, and Liam Jones is the one yesterday who they could ill afford to lose with that hamstring scare. So chuck on Tim English, chuck on Jamara Ugle-Hagan, chuck on the interruption of Aaron Norton, who only played a half, I think, yesterday. And then we touched on their first 4 weeks, which is North Melbourne, Collingwood, Carlton, Fremantle away, Brisbane, the reigning premiers, in round 5, and then St Kilda in round 6. Geez, it hasn't been an ideal pre-season to chuck on Liam Jones, who's 33, so this is going to happen with Liam Jones. Like, they're already far too reliant on him. But, yeah, not the one you wanted to lose, though, if you're the Dogs.
Geez, it puts a bit of pressure on Rory Lobb, who we're not signing off on yet as a Hall of Fame half-back, by the way. But he has looked very good down there, and all reports did a good job on Norton. Given Norton's pre-season, you have to temper those reports. But it makes it tough, doesn't it? And we talk about the flow-on effects. This leaks into Bontempelli's contract, and is this the group? Is this the team taking me to the promised land? It just puts enormous pressure on the club to be strong around the coach who's going to be under heat early. Wouldn't want to lose round 1. Round 1 of the Kangas. I mean, I've heard you talk about how many they're going to win. Are they going to win 5, 6, 10, 8 games?
8 for North, yep.
8 for North.
Yep.
Eight's
you think that's too high? No, well, I think so. Yeah, I think, like, if the progression how many should they have won this year? Probably 6. Like, they're in a position to win 6. So I think if I don't just give them a part because they're in position to win games and they lost. I don't go, okay, you won 3. I think you should have won 6. So I think the progression is to 8. And I think their midfield is good enough to win 8. I mean, they took it up to some good teams late. Another pre-season, uninterrupted with the way that you want to play. Defensively, they were horrible. We know that. That's going to be better. It can't be as leaky as... So I think they're going to win 8. So I think they win round 1. I know it's early, and we spoke to our mate Mick, who was talking about multis in round 1.
You're giving selections out for round 1?
I think North Melbourne win. Hold me to it. North Melbourne win round 1.
Hold me to it?
Yeah.
I don't think you meant to go there 5 minutes ago.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy to. Kingy, this is text for you. Yeah, I'm not a Saints fan, but can you define what a list correction is? Correction from what? Recruiting the wrong players or playing a bad style? ? When you say correction...
I just don't think there's been enough.
Yeah.
And the Saints fans hate me talking about their list because I think they get the most out of what's available. This is why the Ross Lyon coaching discussion's a good one. Would you rather have a coach in there that's happy to sit at the bottom of the table whilst you get the high picks and get the absolute star factor players with picks 1, 2, 3, 4? Or do you want them to be competitive, win 11, 12 games, be around the edges of the finals, and give you something to go and watch week on week that you can be proud of, but then suffer the cost of that? So the list correction for me is...
What would you rather, by the way?
I think when the coach comes into a list that needs work, you need to be poor for 2 years. This is why the Clarkson stuff fascinates me. Do you need to be, not by design, because it can be construed or misconstrued as tanking, but if you're going to be bad early.
Richmond.
Now. Be bad. Next 2 years, be bad. And then when you get that glut of elite level talent, in my opinion, it's the only thing that corrects you. Now, the Geelong supporters come and say, we haven't had these picks for forever. But you've been able to get Dangerfield and Cameron. So credit to you in doing it in a different way. But I just think you can't do it without elite picks.
All right, 1-3.
Do you agree?
Yeah, 100% agree. Premiership's the one on draft night, not when you're selecting a coach. You need the players. But Saints fans, I'm interested in your thoughts on this. Is this what you want? Are you happy to be really competitive most weeks under a coach like Ross Lyon, who is, I agree with you, absolutely getting the most out of what he's got? Or do you need to go back, really go back? That's why the language around sacking Brett Ratten, I always question. We are better than what we've shown. I'm not sure you are better than what you've shown, and that's probably proven to be wrong. That's why you need everyone on the same page with where you are strategically with your list. Ben's in Rowville. You got a question about Timmy Membry, Benny. Welcome to Fireball.
How's it going, boys?
Good.
Hey, quick one. Pretty interested to see, well, I don't know, Kingy, if you've been to Collingwood or not, but just want to see what your thoughts are on Membry. You know, obviously with McStay coming back, he'll have another pre-season under his belt with his ACL. I sort of feel like Jimmy Elliott was, like, you know, just going at the end of last year. I know, Bobby Hill's pressure's awesome, but I think we lost our way scoring at the back end of last year. I just want to see what your thoughts are with Membry.
Yeah, I love it. I love the selection. I think Membry is a plug-and-play type. I think that the second ruck position won't just be Mason Cox's this year. And it'll open up that extra tall position forward of the ball. And if McStay's in the team, well, he's the nominal second ruck, isn't he? You really only need that player for, 6 minutes a quarter?
Yeah, now that they've kept the sub. I mean, if they went to 5, unlimited on the bench and no sub, then I think you can probably be a bit more flexible. You may be able to play 2 genuine rucks, and that opened up that avenue. But now that it is still the same with 4 and a sub, you need to be special in terms of another role that you can play.
They need another goal kicker. Like McInnes, as much as people talk about how well he's going down back, he hasn't been that player up forward. Elliott gets injured too regularly.
Yep.
I've had a look at that forward spot for the Pies. I don't know whether you agree with me here, Cornesy, or not. But Gary Ablett Jr. started as a small forward and then he became a 50-50 mid forward. And then he became a goal square into the mid, sort of 30-70 option. Kicked 44 goals one year in 2010. I just wonder whether you could look at keeping your star factor players on the ground a bit longer in that deep forward role. The Dustin Martin, Trent Cotchin role of 2016-17. I wonder whether Nick could look at that, because I don't know if they're as well stocked in the forward half of the ground as the names represent.
Brodie Mychek gets injured, McStay gets injured, DeGoey gets injured, Bobby Hill's pretty reliable, McCreary's pretty reliable, but he's not a high goal scorer, and Elliott gets injured. So stats would say 100% you're right. And they're so reliant on DeGoey and getting him right. And this is why Collingwood is the team that is most fascinating to me, because you look at their best 22, I've got it in front of me right now, and it looks good. And the team would tell you we're as strong as we were in 2023. Yep, that's fine on paper, but you're all old and you all have some injury concerns. So if you can't get on the park, it could unravel in a way that
it's just the same guys
we haven't
isn't it?
seen. Same guys, but 2 years older.
So Houston to halfback gives you a bit more
100%.
freedom.
I love Houston to halfback. I don't mind Perryman, but he's not a superstar Perryman. Like, he's just a good, honest player. He's not a star. He's not a needle mover. Houston is.
No, so talk about domino effect though. So you can put Perryman in the middle, and you can have Houston at halfback, and it gives you more. Maybe DeGoey, Nick Dacos on ball full forward more often.
Yeah.
That sort of luxury.
But if DeGoey's not there, if Pendlebury has wear on the tyres that continue and he's out, if Howe's not there, if Schultz isn't there, if Mychek's not there, then I go, well, many 10 Dan Houstons can't fix the level of age that's with this group and the issues with their body. That's why. I'm not saying it's going to unravel, but it could unravel in the most epic way. Of
course it could, but they're the risks you take, aren't they, as a footy club? When
it's a
you've
big
got
risk.
But when you're 18 months from just winning one, you get thirsty for the next one with this group. So where are you predicting them for the season? Where have you got them?
No, I think they'll miss.
Bracket?
I think they'll miss the 8.
They'll miss the 8?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
I do.
Gee. No, I think I've got them in the 8.
Okay. Well, I haven't sat down and done it properly, and you're going to have to leave some really good teams out.
Well, they're not really good if they're out of the 8.
No, well, they're a solid.
Can't be really good.
They're a solid team. You're going to have to leave some good teams out. But I want to talk about with you whether we need to just rip the Band-Aid off in terms of mid-season trading. I keep hearing that, yeah, it's going to come in, but it'll be restricted to a certain income bracket. And you can only trade this player and that player, and so many restrictions on it. This is Luka Doncic, who has been traded against his will. He's a 25-year-old top 5, maybe top 3 player in the NBA who is gone because his club has the power to say, we think this deal makes us better for now or into the future, or we're worried about Luka and we want to move on this before his body breaks down or he's not professional. Why don't we give clubs a bit more power in this?
Yeah, I think when you look at the AFL system, certainly they've lost all power, the clubs.
Power.
They have no power. And the fans, they support clubs. They love players, but they support clubs. We've got to give the clubs back the ability to make themselves competitive, if not contenders, quicker than the current model does. Now, right now, player managers rule the world.
100%.
Look at Paul Connors and Robbie DeRazio and Dave Trotter and Scotty Lucas, Liam Pickering, the bathtub man, Colin Young. They just basically dictate where players are going to go. Deals are done behind the scenes, and they almost go to the club and say, look, we can get this deal done. What do you think? He's happy to do this. And you also hear stories of that extrapolated down the path of, hey, if you don't sign this guy this year, well, don't forget we've got this other guy. There's
exactly
things like
what
that
happens.
Happening behind the scenes.
Or can you chuck in a fringe player? Now, I'm not saying this happened, but can you chuck in a Rory Atkins and give him an extra 1 or 2 years on his deal because he's our client and you got to look after him as well? And clubs go, oh, no, of course I can. They're absolutely petrified of player managers. So
this is one way, and a big way, that I think the AFL could give the clubs back the keys to their own business because, in my opinion, they've lost them. The clubs are hamstrung. I mean, how many decisions can they really make that affect the next season's fortunes in a draft period or one trade period? But they need to be able to do things in season up to a point, up to say round 10 or 11, when you know you're a reasonable side or not, and you create more movement. I think movement's great for us. Everyone says, oh, but the players don't get paid enough. The average wage now is going to be close to $500,000 a year. That's enough to move from Melbourne to Adelaide, or from Perth to Melbourne. We're not moving. You're not moving countries. Let's be real about that. Do players then have the problem with children changing schools? That sort of stuff's worked through really easily. So I don't see it as much of as an impost as some. And the Players Association have had this power for a long time now, and look where it's taken our teams, our clubs. So I think we need to look at it.
And you're getting to a point where, Geelong are going to go again and they're going to get a Matt Rao. Other clubs, the first step in this is to be able to trade contracted players. Let's start there. Clubs need the power to be able to trade contracted players to a club that is willing to pick up that contract. That's the first step in all of this. Then we worry about mid-season trading. But, imagine if, and I put out an example on social media last night. I probably didn't nail it. It's really difficult to compare an AFL trade to this. And I thought it would be like De Goey in a future first for Chad Warner. Sydney going, well, we don't think Warner's going to stay anyway, so we're going to trade him now. We'll get De Goey and we'll get a pick. But it's probably bigger than that. It's probably like West Coast saying, we're going to move Harley Reid. We're going to move Harley Reid for Charlie Curnow and a first-round pick. It's probably that level of shock in the middle of the season, bang, that hits you. Now, that would never happen, but, gee, wouldn't it liven things up in the middle of the season when it's winter and it's cold and it's a bit monotonous and it's long? I think it would give the fans hope, which is what you need. Kingy, we discussed just briefly before that news break, the win now teams, and you've got tiers.
Love it. Well, tell me which ones you would move up or move down.
Okay.
So so just lists. So not about how they'll perform or whether you like them or dislike them. Just giving the coach the 23 that'll perform for a weekend, or the ability to perform of a weekend, in the old stall gift style, off scratch. So the best 3 for me, top tier, Fremantle, Brisbane, GWS. Then I feel there's a little gap.
Okay.
Off 3 metres, Hawthorn, Collingwood, Carlton, Geelong, and Melbourne.
I would put
off 5 metres.
Okay.
Do you want to give it? Do you want to go?
Yeah,
tell me,
you
would
go
move? Who would
through.
you
I
move?
want you to go through, and then we can discuss.
Good average lists. So off 5 metres, Sydney, Gold Coast, Essendon, Adelaide, and the Dogs. Then back another 3 metres, St Kilda, Kangaroos, Port Adelaide, and not even in the conversation, Richmond and West Coast.
Okay. I would have Hawthorn swapped with GWS.
Top tier.
I'd have Hawthorn top tier, giving yourself a chance to win with what they've done. Like they've. Have you seen it?
You're saying Hawks' their list is better than GWS's list?
Yes.
Okay.
And like factoring.
I'm only
in,
talking 23s, the actual representative list, not
like
the,
factoring in the moves that they've made to be in that, giving yourself
Okay.
a chance. I think they've been all in. I think you're low on Sydney, just in terms of where they're at.
I don't love forward of the ball, and I don't love behind the ball. Oh, their midfield's unreal. Yeah, who else? Who do you love outside of that? I mean, Blakey, halfback flanker. Yeah, but every team's got
They
a
look like the best team we'd ever seen at round 14 last year.
the best
Like
three
they
in the middle.
looked unbeatable at one, and they're playing a grand final. It was bad, but
Yeah,
they
it
were
was
like
bad.
13-1 or something, and then played in the grand final.
Well, I'm just thinking there's other teams
Okay.
that are more stacked than them. Outside of the three in the middle, I mean, do they have? If they don't have the same year again, where do you have Sydney? I mean, the year of Isaac Heaney, you couldn't replicate that, could you?
No, it's going to be hard. He could be better on grand final day. That would be the only thing you would add to that. But I mean, yeah,
Warner was unbelievable. Goulden was
I think
unbelievable.
their tall forwards there's a question. There's a question on their tall forwards.
Who's their best forward?
Papley,
Give me their second best forward.
Heaney when he's there, and then Warner when he's there. No, I get what you're saying, but I'm in love with Blakey. I think there's, what can you get from Mills? I don't know. Can you get anything from?
Who's their second best defender?
Rampy, Blakey,
He's 34. Blake is their number one, isn't he?
McCartan's pretty good.
McCartan, I'll give you McCartan. Yep. I
Florence pretty good.
just think it's, I just think every team's got an Ollie Florent.
Are you Adelaide were down the pecking order? Now I'd need to have a list in front of
Good average list,
the markers of where they're at, but I'm a bit higher on Adelaide.
Why?
I think the changes. I thought they were ready to go last year. I just thought they underperformed significantly. There's no way in heck they're a bottom 4 team, Adelaide.
I think Cummings is a good addition.
Peatling's a good
Cumming,
addition.
I should say. Peatling.
The Phil Seeker's going to play a lot more football and could be an absolute force.
Yeah. Big raps on Draper coming out of there with his pre-season form.
Draper in 5 years will be great.
All right,
but
in 5 years, I might have gone a bit early
I'm
there.
a bit higher on I'm higher on the Dogs because I just think you and I are completely at opposite ends of the spectrum on the Dogs. I think they've got a great list, and they should be ready to go. They should be off 3 metres, not off 9.
Really?
Mm.
The Dogs.
Yep.
Yeah, you take Jamara out of there, and it starts to look it does look different. You've already moved Lob. I'm not as big on English as what you are as a ruckman. I just think there's a few concerns there, and they get a bit skinny, and the role players have to play really well for the Dogs to perform. Which one? Gold Coast was one I thought you might have pulled me up on. I've got them down a little bit, but
yeah, I'd have them
easily move them higher.
I'd have them off 4.5 metres.
4.5.
Yeah,
I like that.
For Gold Coast. I think they play finals. I think they're good.
We should do it properly.
We need to do it.
Like
So this is perfect.
A speed map.
This is perfect. The SEN social media team are going, there's an opportunity here. We can draw up the stall gift and we can have the teams and a player from each team. So no one else steal this idea. It's Kingy and mine, and we are going to do it, and we'll post our thoughts on social media and revisit on Friday. Also on Friday, we're doing our over-unders. So the betting markets, our friends at Sportsbet, Gamble Responsibly, have released their over-unders, win-loss. We did it last year, and we'll do that again on Friday.